Okay, what we're starting off here is a phone book, and it's called INT for Intermediate. The top area allows you to enter a contact. The bottom area has the contacts you've entered. I can add a new one. I'll show you how it works. Steve, the phone number is 555-5555-555. It's a weird phone number. And steve@steve.com. Add entry. And it goes in there. So we're going to go through how you made that with React and how you handle it and how things state changes and how it's so cool and lots of fun stuff. So let's get started. First, let's hit the create button and create a new project. Create right there, React Code Sandbox, perfect. And I am off and running. We will call this Phonebook-int. And create Sandbox. Sandbox has been created. The right side's the preview, which will be dynamically updated, and the left side is the code. I'm going to go ahead and hit the style sheet, separate it here, split the screen, keep the styles on the right and the code on the left. We're not going to use this much, but we are going to use it a tiny bit. Over here on the left side, that's our main code. Hello Code Sandbox will be changed to Phonebook-int. I, of course, made that mistake as always, and this will be enter contact. Okay, the contacts will have name, a phone, and email. These are just placeholders. Go back to here, h2 return. If you just type the tag name, you can get it to automatically write the closing tag and the bracket. It's there, the greater than less thans. And let's go ahead and call it something. Will be your contacts, I suppose. Your contacts. Well, why don't we actually go ahead and start by making the contacts. So, there in the very beginning, we'll do import useState, and if I hit return, it's going to do everything else for me. Put the braces in there and say it's from React. Go into the code, and we have to define something before we actually can use it. So this will be constant. The thing will be list. Second item will be set list. So use state, and the list is going to be an array. That's all we need, is to tell it it's an array. I mean, it's going to be an array of objects, but I'll leave it open for now. Well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and set a default. So we said it would be an object. Name will be Joe. And to explain this, I think I did in the first course, but set list is kind of the handler, agent, the manager for lists. So if you ever want to add to it, subtract from it, edit it, you have to go through set list. So it's kind of that's the handler. I call it the kind of the agent. If you remember that, you're off to a good start. So I'm going to go over to here into the contacts, and I'm going to say left brace, and take that list. I'm going to map through it to left parentheses, and just say one item, and then n1 parenthesis and arrow function, and say div tag class name, because I do want to call this a class, will be called book, and the div tag, and another div tag will be one of the items in the book, which will be, I guess, well, entry dot, or no, not entry, but item dot name, because we've already defined that. It's sitting there. Unbrace and end the div, and then end the main div. Everything looks good. If I hit Control S for save, the formatting will get a little easier too. And yeah, only one item's in there at the time, but I'll go ahead and leave it that way. Now, I said there'd be some styling. Let's go ahead and do that styling. And I'll say, if you see book, anything in the book has a display of flex, so flex column, which is going to work pretty well. And if you see book, and you have a div tag inside the flex item, that means every item for flex is going to be 1, 1, and 33%. Okay, and I'll do a little more formatting and just say background color equals beige. There you go, and maybe some padding too while we're here. Padding 8 pixels. Okay, I think that's good for now. One more. We're here, boarding solid 1 pixel, and we'll make that, I guess, black. Black is fine. Okay, so there's what an entry looks for. There's going to be more in each line, but let's just start off with that one. Entry name. So, well, for the sake of argument, there is going to be a second one, which was going to be phone number 999. And now, because it's on its own line, nicely formatted, copy, paste, paste. item.phone. So now I got two things. I'm going to add an email later, but for now, let's go ahead and stick to these two items which we have, and they're all set to go. Okay, so to input these items, we're going to need an entry object. So const, and I'll say entry, and then of course set entry is the manager for that. useState, and this is going to be an object with three variables: name, phone number, and email address. And that's all set to use, so I can go in here and I'll go ahead and erase all this out now. And at this point I can say, well, I want a label. The label is for name, and the name will be there. And now an input box, and the value will be entry.name. Okay. Oh, I haven't ended the box, so that's a very simple answer. Okay. All right, so you can't actually change it yet because we haven't said, well, as we said, anyone that wants to change that has to go through the handler, and the handler is set entry. It's not a problem. I will go through the handler on change equals. Now here it's going to get a little more complicated. I'm going to say it's a function, and the function takes in the value, which is event. E for event. That's all you have to ever remember. E for event. In that event, you're going to go ahead and call the set entry. And inside set entry, it's an object, so you need to tell it, don't forget it's an object. Spread operator, ... So take what's already in entry, and then, comma, and we're going to go ahead and redefine one of the fields for it, which is, I believe, the name. So name, and we had that E for entry, or event is what it's called, event, E, target, value. So if you ever want the value of a form field, E, target value. That's all you have to remember. And if I were to go in there, now I can change it. Let's go ahead and add a button, and the button will have on click equals braces add entry. Yeah, you can use that. It hasn't been used yet. End the button, add entry, and then finish the closing tag of the button. Add entry has not been defined. Well, that's a problem, so that's fine. We'll go define it. Constant add entry equals, I'm going to do this as an arrow function because I like to be consistent. We'll give it some orders. Well, what's this order? The order is to set the list, use state function, and what's it going to have? Well, it has to be inside an array, so the first thing we have to do is add the brackets, and ... Spread operator will take what's currently in the array, comma, and then I can just use entry to actually put whatever your entry is into the array. Click, 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 done, and there you go. You've got another entry. So this works perfectly fine. It's all set, kinda, to go, except we only have one item, and that's not what we wanted to do. So we want all three. Not a problem. So I would go back up to my label here and say select all, copy, paste, paste, paste. So paste it 3 times. Then the first one was all catered to be the name. So the second one I want catered to be for the phone. If I just copied it, I can just paste it into each one. Probably be the quickest way at this point. And paste carefully. And that's the third one. Phone and email. Now you'll notice, if you're a purist, that I didn't, the input column really should have name equals something and ID equals something. It should. I just didn't do it here. I wanted to keep things kind of simple. For the advanced one, I'll make it all proper. But for now, it works. So if it's not working in your browser, or it's a different browser and it gets upset, then yeah, definitely add it. But for me, for now, it's like, well, I can just use this. It did actually add some extra objects. I don't know when or why it did that, but whatever. Whenever you Control S, you'll save it and you can see what it does. Okay, so now we've got email must not be set. Entry.email. Well, did I set any of them? No, I didn't. All right, let's do all the fields. Copy and paste to make it quicker. Email. Oh, that was it. Okay, so 222 and joe@joe.com. Add entry. Those two things went in. The phone book right now has only been told to spit out two of the fields, so I'll just go and copy, paste, and change the email to email. So now it's got all three. In fact, that was in there. It's already been remembered, and we've got all three. So if I edit it again, we would get another one. Technically, a list item in React should have, sorry about the pop-ups, I keep hovering over things. It should have a key to each item, so it's unique. And I could make the key the phone number, because the phone number is supposed to be unique, except I haven't been checking if the phone number is unique, so that technically could allow me still to get the error. We'll do that in advance, but for right now, it's like, it's close enough. But what I will do is I will zero out the initial values, because I don't need the defaults in there. So when the thing first loads, it should have nothing. Technically, I should be checking for if that thing is empty. Well, actually, it could be empty if I just said, now you're empty. Now it's empty. So now, 1, 2, 3. Now I've got entries, add entry, add entry, add entry. I don't need defaults anymore. The other thing I could do is that when you clear out an entry, I could say, yes, now that I've added an entry, I can use that old set entry. That's the manager for that. And I can just go there. And now you'd think, well, what if I just send it an empty object? Oh, perfect. That would work, right? Well, it doesn't. You actually have to specify, override those values. So then I have to say name equals nothing, phone equals nothing, and email equals nothing. Okay, so now if I enter it, now they're zeroed out. So each time you add one, you get 0. So that's intermediate. I love some things that really should be, you should have the ID and name on each field and all that good stuff. And the formatting could be a little better, especially up here and for mobile. But it is, kind of what I said, the intermediate version. The useState's been expanded to be a higher level. We're using objects inside the array instead of just string items inside the array. So it's getting, the string items or the objects have string items, so it's buried down at some levels, but you kind of get the idea that this is a more of an intermediate version, and the advanced version I think will use effect and start saving things to cookies, so you can not lose everything every time, because if I refresh the page, everything is gone. I lost all my contacts, and I have no validation too. So there's all that to consider. I hope that helps. Cheers.